Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jen and this is Jen Restyle in Fashion. Welcome back. This is part 2 of our upcycled denim corset using the Cerise pattern by Mood. In part 1, we prepped our denim from old jeans. We cut out our pattern pieces and now it's time to assemble everything. This is where it all comes together and I'm going to show you step by step how to create structure and boating and finish with some creative upcycle touches. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do is pin the pattern pieces together. Now I did show you this in a short. I will link the short here so that you can see when I put these pattern pieces together. I did them in a sample. I used some muslin fabric and I created the corset from the muslin fabric, and that's how I knew that this corset was gonna fit. You can watch that short or you can continue to watch here, but I am going to kind of move past this pretty quickly because this is simply sewing the seams. Remember, your seams are to be sewn at 3/8 of an inch unless otherwise specified. So make sure that if you're not sure and you're not certain about what 3/8 of an inch is, that you use a seam gauge and measure that, or a tape measure, measure the 3/8 inch so that you can have your seams correct. If not, the corset may be too tight. It just may be ill-fitting. So make sure that you do that. Okay, so now that I've stitched all those pieces together for the denim, the next thing you want to do is press. And I just want to emphasize it's really, really important to press. Okay. Now for the lining, I'm using this sturdy gray cotton that I have left over from another sewing project. I didn't have any buckram. I went to several stores. They didn't have any, so I'm using a very stiff interfacing. I'm treating the interfacing and the lining as one fabric, sewing all the patterns together the same way that I did the denim. This heavyweight interfacing is very stiff and not easy to work with. So I want to make sure that you're taking your time matching up your notches. Some of you forgot to cut your notches. Don't forget to cut those notches because the notches are like a puzzle piece coming together. So make sure that you cut your notches. So we're going to line this up just like we did the denim, and we're going to finish it all the way out. Then next, we're going to stitch it and sew it together. Now, what's different about this one is we're still going to go in and we're going to press the seams open, but for the lining piece, we're going to add boning. Now, let me tell you a little something about boning. Boning is what gives the corset its structure. Even though we're using this heavy weight interfacing, that is not enough to hold the corset up. You've got to have the boning in there so that the corset lays nicely. Now I am inserting this boning. The boning that I have came with a casing. Some of you all may have boning that does not have casing. And so if that's the case, you have to make your own casing. Now during the live, I showed you how to cut the boning. You're going to cut it just short of the length of the fabric. And if you've only got boning, the plastic part, and no casing, you're just going to cut some strips out of some cotton or muslin and use that as your casing and stitch very close to the boning. So here you see me going up one side, going down the other side, and doing a tack stitch at the top and at the bottom. And this is so that the boning doesn't slide out. And As I said, I'm placing the boning onto the lining, making sure it's secure. Once that's done, we're going to attach this lining piece to the denim. So we're sewing the lining to the denim. Once you lay the lining piece on top of the denim, you want to match up all the seams. So the top of the corset does not have any notches. It doesn't need them because the seams have to match up with each other. Take your time, pin this together, and then you are going to stitch across the top. You should not have any problem stitching across the top. Why? Because you have cut the boning short enough that it's not going to interfere with your seam allowance. All right, so now we open it up, and now we are going to do an edge stitch. Now, the key to this is making sure that the denim fabric and the cotton fabric are all laying towards the gray lining or whatever lining you're using. Make sure up underneath that the seams are going all in one direction. You are not sewing this with the seams pressed open. They are to one side. This is very important. This edge stitch is important because it gives a clean finished look and it keeps the lining from rolling out. This is real important. If you have any questions about this, put it in the comments and let me know. But the edge stitch is going to be key. Now I'm going to take this over to my ironing board and I'm going to press it down. Use a little steam. Use a weighted object if you need to. Make sure that this lays nice and flat. Now you got to sew your side seam. So we're going to turn this back over, right sides together. We're going to pin down the sides of the back of the corset and we're going to stitch that close. Once we stitch that close, you've got to now turn it and make sure that those corners are nice and creased. So you see how I fold the corner, push it through, and then take my finger and make sure that corner is a corner and not a rounded corner. We want flat, sharp corners, okay? I'm going in and putting some pins around the top because I want this to lay nice and flat. Plus I have another idea. All right, if you are just leaving the corset as is, you're going to take the bottom of this corset, the lining, you're going to fold under about 1/2 inch. You're going to fold the denim under about 1/2 inch, and then you're going to stitch across the bottom. Don't want that stitch to show? That's perfectly fine. You can hand stitch it if you want to, but it does need to be stitched closed. And then you would just go on ahead and do your grommets. Now for me, I've decided that I want to finish off my look and put a waistband at the top of my corset and a waistband at the bottom of my corset. I know, always a little extra. And I just feel like it just pays homage to what it used to be. For me, that's what I get out of it. So I am taking this waistband, which is a little longer than the corset, and I'm using my seam ripper to open it up, because basically I'm going to take all the excess fabric out of this waistband and I am going to sandwich the bottom of my corset inside this waistband. And you'll see here in just a moment. And I just think that is going to be so sharp to have that waistband at the top and the bottom. So here I am. I'm just putting the corset, the bottom of the corset inside, and I'm doing it along the edge. I'm trying my best not to overlap with the boning that's already in there. So now I finished. I'm going to my sewing machine and I'm going to just stitch right on top of the stitches that are already there or that I've removed in the same place. We're going to just stitch that all the way across. All right, so I took a break from the corset for a moment just to skip over to the skirt. I love making this skirt. I will pin in the corner here so that you guys can take a look at the skirt that I did before. I just love it. I'm just going in right now, putting in some darts. I'm going to sew the patch pockets on, which is something that I didn't do in the original skirt that I made. I didn't put pockets in the back, but these pockets, I just thought they were cute. They came off the jeans. It wasn't like I was using them in the corset, although I could have put a patch pocket on the corset. Anyway, so this is how I did the pockets. I lined them up evenly on both sides, and I just simply stitched around it. Nothing special. And then I added a little waistband detail on the skirt just because I wanted it to kind of resemble the waistbands that were in the corset. And then I put my zipper in. Again, I did all of this in the other video, so you can feel free to check that out at any time. I will link it below in the description. And if you have any questions, just put them over there. Okay, so now for the grommets. I'm going to show you exactly how I create the holes, insert the grommets, and hammer them. This is slow sometimes it's a painful process, but trust me, it's worth it. When you get those grommets in there, they just look so sharp, so sharp. Now, this is gonna really take this corset up a notch. I love the grommets. I feel like they're such a great design feature, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I insert the grommets. Here I am pulling out the grommets, the back and the front, and I'm looking to see how many I'm gonna actually use. I didn't use that many, and we can count them up later, but I spaced them out. And then I use my tape measure to mark the place that the grommets are going to be. And then we're going to I used a marker at first, but I ended up using my chalk pencil because that showed the marks up a little bit better for me. And basically I had to cut a hole. I tried using the tool that comes with the grommets, and it did not work on this denim. It was too thick. Look at me trying to ram it in there. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I ended up using a pair of scissors very carefully and getting in there and cutting the fabric with first I used a large pair of scissors to cut the hole. Then I used a tiny pair of scissors to really get in there and trim away some of the extra. And it kind of worked. It was tough, you guys. All right, so here's one. I folded the fabric in half. I cut like a little triangle with the big scissors. Then I go in with the little scissors and I create the hole. Now, normally you would not have to do this, you guys, because you would just have regular fabric. But because we had this thick denim that also had like other pieces of fabric underneath, and then also there was the lining, and then there's the buckram, and the tool could not push through all of that. It just was not doing it. So you see me here going in. I did this for each one of the holes on the grommet. The trick with the grommets is to make sure that the hole is a little bit smaller than the hole of the grommet, so that you are essentially pressing the fabric around the metal. You see how I'm using my nail to press the fabric around and then push it down, and then I hammer it with the nail. Simple as that. I won't say simple as that, but Basically, that's what it was. I'm also using some leftover flat fell seams from another pair of denim jeans to create the lace up tie. Just a little extra upcycling that never hurts. To prevent the fraying, you can use a little fray check. I don't really mind a little fraying, but I know some of us want things to be just right. So yeah, if you have a little fraying going on with your ties, just use a little fray check on there. All right, you guys. Well, we're going to give everything a final press. And voila, here it is. I love how this turned out. Such a structured, stylish, and completely upcycled from denim jeans. The fit is great. The details make it look very polished. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this upcycle, this sew along with Jen. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're working on your own corset project, just tag me. I'd love to see it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.